Hey everyone, welcome to Pencil versus Pixel. I am your host, Caesar, and it's my absolute pleasure to introduce today's guest, Jaime Derringer. Hi Jaime, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Jaime is the founder and executive director of Design Milk, an online magazine with focus on design, art, and architecture. Not only is Jaime an expert in design trends, she's also a speaker, enjoys to paint, draw, and to write poetry. So, Jaime, before we continue, I'm going to ask you what I ask all my guests: pencil or pixel?
Well, I have to say pencil, um, just because I enjoy drawing so much, and I'm one of those people who's a little bit old school. I remember in high school I used to write my papers and not type them because I'm that old. Don't tell anybody. But yeah, I have to. Even though my whole life is online, I still have to choose pencil.
Awesome. Let's get to know you a little bit better. Go ahead and give us an overview of what you do.
Okay, well, I'm editor of Design Milk, which is an online magazine slash blog slash website that's dedicated to modern design. So we feature everything from art to architecture to technology, but we focus mostly on home decor and home products. Um, we also have a sister site called Dog Milk, which is kind of a spin-off because I'm a dog person and I felt that there was a lot of really great dog design stuff out there. So in 2010, I launched Dog Milk,
Nice.
and it's been pretty successful. We have we post every day over there. There's no shortage of modern dog products out
Wow.
there.
That is very cool. Yeah, I totally forgot to point that out. But yes, dog milk. And you do have very, very cool stuff. And you can't find it anywhere else. I haven't found any other websites where, it's dedicated specifically to like really cool dog stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
we definitely try to find the things that nobody else has found yet. So, but
Very
that's
cool.
kind of the goal with Design Milk too, is we really try to go out there and find the stuff that not everybody is finding. But we've been doing Design Milk now. Gosh, it's been over 7 years, creeping on 7.5, and it's going by really fast.
That is so
I feel
awesome.
like the oldest blogger ever.
We're definitely going to dig a little bit deeper on how it all grew, how it went, where it started, and how it grew. But and before we get to that, wanted to ask you what was it that led you to writing or blogging in particular?
It's a lot of different things. I was looking for a couch for my new townhouse. This was in 2006, I think, and I needed a place to kind of bookmark all the decorating design ideas I had for the house. And so I discovered blogs just about the same exact time that I bought this townhouse. And so I was kind of using my blog almost like as a place for me to bookmark my ideas and my finds. But I then started to like discover this whole new internet world that I had never known about before, and I started falling down rabbit holes and just putting more and more stuff on the blog that wasn't necessarily personal, but it still had a personal feel to it because these were things that I liked or I found that I thought were interesting, and that holds true today in the blog.
Yeah.
Nothing goes past me. Like I see everything before it gets published. Because they want to make sure to maintain that same original feel that we had in the beginning, where I am the one who approves it because it started like that, and I wanted to have this feeling of me sharing things I love with people. It's not about reporting news or becoming disconnected. There's still a lot of personal elements about our site and what we do. And I think that's one thing that kind of separates us from some of the other larger design blogs out there.
Why Design Milk?
You mean the name?
Yeah, the name Design Milk. Where did that come from?
Um, it kind of started as a joke, clearly.
Nice.
I mean, it's not a very serious name, but it stuck. Like we started, it was just like, it was so random and kind of fun and a little bit personal too. And then after a while, I was like, oh, this is dumb. I should change the name. But at that point, it kind of stuck. Like we had a lot of people following the blog at that point, and they recognized the name, and I just kind of kept it. So it stuck, and I rolled with it, and I was like, all right, we're gonna do this. We're definitely gonna do this with this weird name. All right, let's just make the best of it and see where it goes. And I think that's having that distinctive name and that recognizable logo has really helped me a lot. Just because we don't really get mixed up in all of the other blogs that are out there. So yeah, it was kind of a joke, but now we're taking it pretty seriously.
I love it, and it definitely
But
stands
now
out.
we say like it's vitamin D
Yeah.
for design. It's your daily dose of vitamin D kind of thing. So we play on it and we try to make it a little bit more serious. But I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's a milk carton, so it's kind of funny.
I love it.
I think that's also really important to the tone of our website because we've never been, we never take design too seriously. We never go so far as to be like, snobby or pretentious or anything like that. I'm a consumer. I didn't go to design school, so I can't come at you like as a designer. So I'm the layperson perspective of everything. So I'm always like, how does it look? How does it function? How does it work for me every day? And I can look at things from that perspective. So having this milk carton kind of brings it down to a level where like you can take it seriously, but you can't take it so seriously.
Right.
So yeah.
That's very cool. No, I love the name. It definitely sticks, and that logo. It just you can't there's nothing that could replace that. I mean, that's just
Yeah, it's funny too because the logo I designed that myself, and
nice.
I it was learning Adobe Illustrator on my own. So that was kind of my way of teaching myself how to use the program. But also, I wanted something that was like flat. But see, I was like before the trend of flat icons. So
you're one of the pioneers.
Yes, I am. But I wanted it to like to have an odd perspective. So a lot of designers will come up to me and be like, "I want to redesign your logo," and then they tilt it because it's supposed to be like if you look at it, it's
Right.
not perfect in the perspective.
Okay.
But I really liked the way that it came out because it's almost like you look at it and you think, oh, it's a milk carton. But then if you look really closely, you'll see that the perspective's off. And that's kind of what I like about it. There's just something that makes it realistic but not realistic.
Oh.
And it blurs the line of like realistic stuff and I guess art or conceptual. I don't know. I'm getting a little philosophical here, but if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, it just one for
But
one,
it
it
fits
looks cool.
with the content we have on our site because we have a lot of content that blurs that line between art and design. We have a lot of conceptual stuff, a lot of stuff where people push the boundaries of materials or methods or those or form. And I kind of wanted to do that with the logo, but I kept it really simple and minimalistic. And I think it works. And I get a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'll redesign it." But
Yeah.
I like it as it is, and it's very recognizable, and it's extremely versatile and functional for us. So I'm really happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah, I totally love the logo. I say just keep it. And more than that, I love the business cards you have.
Oh yeah, the shapes like the milk carton. Yeah, we did stickers first, and then we
Yeah.
realized, well, these people asked me, "Oh, is this your business card?" And I said no, but then I had to take it an extra step and do the business card too.
That's totally cool.
Yeah.
So you said that you started your blog as sort of a bookmarking site where you found a lot of things and you just sort of bookmarked them on the site. When was the turning point? When was it when you decided I could actually do something with this, and what was it that sort of influenced you to go in that direction?
I think when people started emailing me and asking me to advertise on the blog, I started thinking, oh, well, this could be a business. And then the wheels started spinning, and I was like, okay, where can I take this, and how far can I take it? And I was at a job where I kind of had quite a bit of downtime, so I was able to work it into my everyday schedule pretty easily. It was also before I had kids, so it was kind of like, I had extra free time at night to play around here and there and redesign the site and, talk with advertisers. And so that's kind of where it started. And then I took my husband to a blogging conference in 2008, and I made him sit through all of the like blogging 101 classes.
Yeah.
Where like, it was taught by people like Darren from Pro Blogger. And
Oh,
like,
Darren
people who are-
Darren Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went there. It was in Vegas, and this was when it was called Blog World. Now it's called like Social Media Expo or something like that. And so I made him sit through all these classes, and then we sat in the airport together and we were talking, and he said, "I think you could really make something of this." And he started taking it seriously, because prior to 2008, he just called it playing on the internet. "Oh, Jamie, you're playing on the internet tonight." And I was like, okay. And at some point it became like so annoying to me that I was like, "You're coming to this conference and you're going to learn that it could be something, like have a little faith and support." And he totally turned after that, and he's been a full 110% supporter since then. And so that was like a big turning point for me. But then in 2009, I think it was 2009, is when I quit my day job. And I did Design Milk full time. So there are a couple milestones there over the first couple years of the site. And, I haven't really looked back since then.
What was it that made you decide to quit your job in 2009?
So I think it's two things. Number one is I felt financially secure. Well, my husband and I felt financially secure in our situation, where if I quit my day job and I had nobody read the site and I made no more money than I was making when I quit my job, that we could still live. Nice. And I could take that risk and we wouldn't have any financial risk. I'm married to an insurance attorney. Can you tell? He's very risk averse. But the other thing was, and I'm going to put this really nicely, I disliked my day job so much, and the person I had become because I disliked my day job, that I needed to follow this passion. And I just felt like I needed to get out of that. I'm okay at taking direction from other people, but I'm much better at being my own boss. And I find myself to be much more successful when I'm the person who's pushing me, and when I have to report to me at the end of the day, because I just feel like that is the person who pushes me the hardest, and makes me most successful. So I felt like I really needed to do it for me to be happy.
Very cool. So you started the website on your own, but now you have other writers, right?
I do.
When did that start? When did it start growing?
Well, I had a couple of contributors for a while. People would email me and say, "Oh, I want to write about this," or "I want to write about that." And we had a couple of people write columns, but I never really took anybody on a regular basis, more than once a week, until I got pregnant. And so I kind of was at the point where I didn't have a choice. My entire life had to change. And so my business had to change and adapt as well. So I ended up hiring 2 people when I was pregnant, and I brought them on. They've been with me now for 2 years. And in the meantime, we've brought on a couple more regular contributors, once a month, once a week, or once every 2 weeks. But for the most part, I would say that right now the day-to-day is myself and the managing editor, whose name is Caroline. And she and I work together. We also have an intern who helps us out with social media now, which has been a huge help. So we're plugging along pretty good.
So you don't have any employees per se, right? Are they?
No, everybody's an independent contractor, part-time. And then, I forgot to mention, we also brought somebody on who lives in the UK, because I realized that we needed somebody overseas, because we were getting invited to go to so many design shows and events and things that were overseas. And now that I'm in California and Caroline is on the East Coast, we just felt like, we can't, it's better if we have somebody who's already over there. Financially, it's easier, but also they, are more familiar with where to go, what to do. And we didn't really want to leave our posts too often, because we manage the day to day. So when we are gone on a trip for 5 days, and it's like, 9 in the morning till 11 at night without checking the email, the inbox explodes and things get lost and things fall behind. So we need to kind of be there on a day-to-day basis. Although I have to say, Caroline gets to go on some pretty sweet trips.
That is awesome.
She went to the Netherlands, she went to Denmark, and she went to Italy in the past 2 months.
Whoa.
Like,
Nice.
yeah, and I think she's been to like 3 or 4 other countries earlier this year. So, I mean, she's got a pretty sweet gig going on. I have to stay at home now that I have a baby. It's like a lot harder for me to leave.
Oh,
So it's nice to have those people who are working for me
yeah.
who can go on these trips and represent Design Milk, and I'm comfortable with that, and I trust them, and so it works out.
Were you the one that was going to those trips before you had your baby?
I didn't really go on too many, but I because Design Milk has grown in the past couple of years, we're invited to more things. So I think when I was doing the blog full time, we were only invited to a couple things here and there, and I did go on a couple of trips. But as the blog got bigger and we had to go to more places and be more present and seem like a bigger staff than we really are, that I had to have all of these people help out.
Very cool. So,
Yeah.
so Jamie, you have a strong brand. Tell us about the importance of your branding and how you developed it. Now, you talked a little bit about how you created the logo, and that's really awesome that you did that too.
Yeah.
But tell us a bit more about the Design Milk brand and the importance of it.
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about the logo and the design, but I did hint at the idea of your brand really evoking a sense of who you are, or what you do, or what your company does, because the branding can really make or break like who your audience is. And so that's kind of why I decided to keep Design Milk, because it was goofy. And I consider myself to be kind of goofy, and I don't take things too seriously. So I think that when you're focusing on branding, you really need to look at who your target is, who you want to be either reading your website or buying your products or whatever it is that you do, and make sure that it kind of fits in with who you are. So I think that that's extremely important. And I think picking the right designer is another thing that's really important. I designed my own logo just because I couldn't hire anybody. To be honest, like that's just what happened. I know so many great graphic designers now that I probably wouldn't do it myself if I did it again. But I think it's really important to make sure that you work with somebody who really understands your mission and your goals, because if they don't get it, they're not going to get it. And the same goes for like with my website design was a really big part of this. I just had it redesigned and launched in March, and that was a really big project. It took us probably 4 months of making it, but prior to that, a couple months of just thinking about it and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. So the whole process was probably close to a year, like turning in my head. I wanted to design it probably 2 years ago, but I just couldn't make it work. But thinking about that was really important too, because I wanted to be able to present an entire brand. When you look at my website, you're like, I get it. I know who this person is. I understand what kind of content I'm going to see, and make sure that that was consistent in everything I do. I mean, you saw my business cards. I told you that I had stickers. We also made temporary tattoos. So we're kind of taking the cheeky level up a little bit with like the die cut and everything, but it's still a professional looking business card that evokes a sense of modern minimalism that I think my entire brand is all about. That's kind of what we focus on the site. We have pockets and I guess like times when we kind of go outside of that. I think that I have an aesthetic that sometimes is extremely minimalist, and then at the other end, I'm like, I want something like ridiculously patterned and crazy and insane. So I kind of go all over the place, but ultimately, like that is who we are and what we want to try to say with our brand.
Do you still continue to write regularly for Design Milk, or is it more
Yeah.
the contributors that write?
Well, it's more the contributors now, but I definitely still write on a regular basis. In fact, I think I write pretty much every day.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
And then I have seen your writing on your website, on your personal site, your poems, and then
Oh,
also your artwork. Very cool.
yes.
And for all of you that don't know Jamie, for that side of Jamie, you can find that work on jamiederringer.com, and it's very, very cool. You gotta check it
Thank
out.
you.
Jamie, so to continue with we talked a lot about your success. the website redesign. I mean, that it looks amazing. It's very, very well put together, and you have so much content. I could imagine it takes months to put it all together in a brand new site, right?
Yes.
Um, Now,
Many trial and error testing and
yeah,
QA.
yeah. What that sort of it's a good segue. Leads me to this question: What have you had any? Well, we all experience failure. Can you tell us about a time when you've failed or something didn't go right, and well, what happened and what did you do about that?
Hmm. Well, I failed a lot with this site. I mean, it the whole world of blogging for me since I started so early has been trial and error. So there's been lots of failures, but there's been a lot of successes too. I feel like if you don't fail, you're just not trying hard enough, I guess. I think failure is a really important part of success because without it, we don't really have any successes. But with Design Milk, there were a couple things I did. There was a lot of bad stuff in the beginning. A lot of like experimenting and side projects, and we had an e-commerce store for a while that was a separate thing. It wasn't part of Design Milk, but it kind of was a sister project, and that actually was really successful. But what I realized in doing it was that I really didn't want to be a retailer. So that was an important personal, I guess, failure, but a personal success in a way because I realized what I didn't want to do, which is equally as important. But I think the biggest failure well, I'm not really sure if there's the biggest failure. There's been quite a few just things that have tanked, and then I've just been like, oh, it's so awful.
Is there anything else besides
you know.
anything other than the retail shop that you had? Just a
Oh yeah.
moment or something just like crapped on you, and you're like, okay, what do I do now?
Um, I don't think I have anything too specific. We had like a directory for a while that was like for designers and stuff, and that just didn't go very well. And then Google came out with this whole links thing, and then we had to kind of close up shop on that. For SEO, it was like a negative SEO thing. Um, but I don't know that there has been like a huge failure that I had. But there's definitely been times when I've hired the wrong people and just like live and learn kind of thing. Um, but I think those bumps in the road are really important because you just kind of take it. It's almost like you collect it in like a backpack and you like have all these things and you can look at them at any time and say, okay, this is where I've been. This is what I've done. I guess it's like a map in a sense to tell you kind of where you need to go next, I guess.
And it's definitely that experience that leads you to where you are, right? Or where you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. And I know what I don't want to do now, which is really great.
And
And
that's
I
just as
still feel
important,
like,
right?
yeah, and I feel like there's still a sense of possibility out there. I don't feel like I've done everything and I'm done. There's so much out there to still do. There's a lot of bloggers that, write books or, do have their own line of products. And there's all kinds of stuff I could do. I just haven't gone down that road yet. I haven't found the thing that seems to be the most appealing to me besides doing the blog. I'm just so happy doing it every day that I haven't found a side project that I feel like would take my attention away from it. And I do my own art, as you said before, and stuff on the side, and that's kind of my creative hobby. Um, but I mean, that's just a hobby at this point. So I don't feel like there's anything coming up that I'm going to want to. I'm just happy focusing on the blog.
Oh, that's awesome. That is very cool. Do you have any actionable advice, any tips for, let's say, I want to start a online magazine. I want to start a blog. I'm gun ho about it. I'm just going to go for it no matter what. But then I start hitting a bunch of bumps and I don't know where to go, what to do. Do you have any advice for the person that wants to do that?
So if you hit a bump and you give up, maybe there's two ways it can go. Number one, you either need to pick yourself up and just keep working, or you need to move on to something else. And I've noticed that if you're really passionate and you really want something, you really love it, that you will tolerate all of those bumps. It's kind of like when you're really sick and you like don't want to get like a shot, you like have to get a shot in order to get better. You just kind of take it because you know that in the end it's what's good for you, I guess. If that makes any sense. But you kind of tolerate the frustrations that come your way in order for the greater good and the ultimate goal. So I always say, like, you know, if it even if it feels like it's the end of the world, if you're still excited when you wake up in the morning and like really still want that ultimate thing that you want to do, then it's worth it to keep going. And I think that's kind of what drove me to keep going when I was not happy with my job, my day job, was that I knew that eventually if I worked hard enough that I could do the blog full time and I could be done with, you know, my day-to-day job. And so I just kept going. And I worked, gosh, those first couple of years, I worked nights, I worked weekends. My husband was like ready to divorce me. He was like, I can't take it anymore. You need to spend some time with me. I feel like I'm single, you know, but it's totally worth it because now it is my job. And it's more rewarding than I ever imagined it would be, even when I was at that other job and I thought, oh, I can't take it anymore. You know, I just had no idea how much happier I would be as a person. And I think that is more reward to my husband now because he's like, not only are you not working as much, but you're a happier person. And that's really important too.
And you get to focus on your on other hobbies, on other things like painting and drawing.
Yeah, and I have time for my daughter and my husband, and I have free time, and it's like free time. What's that? I don't even know what to do. It's like, yeah. So I started painting and drawing again, which is something I hadn't done in a while. So it was nice to kind of have that freedom and downtime.
And it's definitely yeah. And would you say that it's more about having that time that you could, spend more with your family or in things you want to do?
I don't know. It depends on the person because I was such a workaholic for so long, and I think it took me having a family, like having my daughter, to kind of step back from that and say, okay, it's time for me to have a better balance in my life. And there's really no silver bullet when it comes to work-life balance. I mean, you're still going to be checking your email when your kid's at the playground. Like, let's be honest. Like, that's just stuff that happens because when you work for yourself and you work on the internet, it never closes and it never shuts its doors, and you're always there working, even when you're not working. So I think just having pockets of time throughout my day to do what I want is really valuable for me. For someone who maybe doesn't have a family or would rather work, it's great if they're working for themselves because they can do whatever they want 24 hours a day. So, and I did that. I worked my butt off on this site. Even after I quit my day job, I put 110% or more into the site. And I feel like that time's kind of behind me at this point, I think, but I still work a ton. I mean, if you ask my husband, he's like, she works crazy hours.
He probably doesn't complain as much, right? As before.
No, because I can work, like now I don't have to work at night when he's home. Like before I was working on, in the evenings and I would never see him. But now it's like I can take a couple hours after 5 o'clock to spend with my family. And then if I have to check emails at 8, 9 o'clock at night, I can sit on the couch and do it. But it's not like a stressful, work experience. It's much more of like let's watch Breaking Bad and I'll check my emails, or, I'll check my email at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, no big deal. So having the flexibility of setting my own schedule has really been helpful, and bringing on people to help me has been invaluable. I never thought I would be the kind of person that asks for help, but at some point I just needed to do that. Prior to having my child, Amelia, prior to having her, I did everything myself. I designed my website, not the one I have now. So previously, I designed the site, I designed the logo, I wrote everything, I did all the advertising. I did everything. I mean, it was just me doing all the social media, everything. Now I have writers all over the world. I have an intern for social media. I have a giant programming development team that's amazing and super like reliable and helpful and awesome. And I've been able to step back from doing everything. But I put in my time. I mean,
Right.
I did all that stuff by myself. So I feel like at this point, it's a reward for all the hard work that I put into it.
That's amazing. Do you have any websites or any resources, any places you go to for sort of inspiration, or you get a lot of ideas?
We like to go to trade shows, and we like to connect with a graduate programs at all the schools around the world and see what their students are doing. That's kind of where we get a lot of our favorite stuff. Most of the stuff that we put on the site that comes from the companies usually comes directly from the companies, like news releases and stuff like that. And then designers will send us their products directly too. So we get a lot of stuff through our submissions on the website, but we go out and we try to seek as much interesting, unique stuff as we can find. I mean, I could be walking into a local store and find a local artist. That's happened a lot. And the trade shows we go to, and like I said, the student work is always our favorite. So having those relationships with the schools is really important.
Do you see as much cool stuff in the West Coast than you did back east?
It's so different here. Yeah. But that's what I like about it. I think it's kind of refreshing for me, and I think it's what I needed to get out here and just kind of feel a little bit. It's laid back here. I know everybody says that it's so stereotypical Southern California surfer, but I needed that. And I think that what's out here is right for California. It really works for the local people. Like the designs that are here are very much about sustainability and indoor-outdoor living and things that are very California centric. I'd like to see some more innovative design in terms of like global lifestyle. I think that would be really great. But I also feel like the same is like if I flip it, it's like flip for New York. I feel like New York is very New York centric, and it's always a very high end and conceptual, and there's like a lot of thought and philosophical stuff that is behind the products. Whereas in California, they're like, cool, it's a light, it looks nice. Yeah, hang it in your living room, So it's very, very different. What I love about California, though, is there's a lot of, they push the limits of materials here a lot. So the architecture, I think there's a lot more focus on architecture in California than I think that there is in New York. I think that has a lot to do with the availability of space. Just because you can build a giant house in California, but you can't really do that in New York. But I also, I think the harmony of having been on both coasts is important to the blog because we're able to kind of showcase both types of design and both approaches to have a nice balance between the two. In addition to what we have coming in from overseas, so we have a lot of global readership. So having the editor over in the UK is great because she's able to help us with that. But we get a lot of global submissions too. So what was your question?
No, I was just asking if you felt that the design is, that you found just as much good. I don't even remember the question really.
I know. No, we find a lot of great stuff here. It's a smaller community here. It's a smaller community in California. However, there's a large maker and craftsperson community up in the Pacific Northwest that I haven't even gotten to yet. So I think that there's something larger here that I just haven't tapped into. I haven't been up there to kind of check it out yet. But I think as far as Southern California is concerned, It's a small group of people, but they're doing really, really good stuff.
Absolutely. Are there any exciting things besides the growth of Design Milk? Any news? Any really big things that are happening?
We might have something cooking for later this year,
Okay.
but I can't really talk about it.
Okay. All right.
So
Fair enough.
something might happen, but it might not happen. So that's why I don't really want to talk about it.
Gotcha.
Um, we're just gonna keep plugging along. I wanted when I moved to California, I said I need to just chill out because this move is really stressful. So I decided to kind of take it easy and not launch any new projects. So through the most of the year, we haven't done a whole lot of new stuff. We did the redesign earlier this year. That was a big thing for us because it created a tablet site and a mobile site, and it's all responsive. It was a big undertaking. So after that, and then between that and the move, I decided I don't want to take on anything new that's huge. So we might be doing something fun this fall slash winter. If that happens, great. If not, in whatever. I'm gonna have to adopt the California lifestyle of whatever, you know.
Just
um,
shrug.
yeah,
So
so we're gonna keep kind of just moving along the way that we've been going and see what happens from there. I'm feeling like I just want to kind of open it up and see what's out here in California and on the West Coast and see what kind of relationships I can form over here because I have great, strong bonds back in New York with a lot of great companies and designers. But I'd like to kind of see what I can do out here and go from there, I guess.
very cool. So Jaime, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Everyone, you could find any and all links that we mentioned or that Jaime mentioned on the show on Pencil versus Pixel. That's pencilvspixel.com / Jaime Derringer. Jaime, thank you so much again for being on the show. And
Thank you for having me.
thank,
That was fun.
thank you so much, Jaime.